Hey, I'm excited to give you guys some feedback today on your projects. Nice job overall. I really enjoyed looking at your photos. This particular photo, for example, is beautiful. I love the bokeh in the background, the foreground background focus, and the rule of thirds, nice composition. It's really a strong photo. A couple of suggestions that I would make. I wouldn't change anything about the photo itself, but I would consider how do I say it, getting rid of this border. Um, it's not a bad border, but I think it restricts it takes away some of the space that you could be using. And so instead of your text having, from here to there, it only has from here to here. It just feels more crowded. If you want to do an element like this, that you probably can make it work, but keep it really simple and unobtrusive. Let your photo really speak, especially since it's such a beautiful photo. Same thing with your text. I love that you made this nice and big. That's your main message and it stands out. I wouldn't really change much about that. It's easy to read. The font is playful and it feels like a playful, it's a message. The message is playful. The audience is young. It is a decorative font, but I think it works fine here. And I like that you had analogous going up the stem. If anything, I would make it just a little bit smaller and less, something so that it doesn't call so much attention to itself. I think these shapes do a similar thing. I think they call a lot of attention to themselves. I wonder if you could just have it like a hand-drawn squiggle, uh, kind of like the squiggles that are in this font. Maybe even the letter I or half of a letter I or something that you could use here in the place of these shapes. They just take so much attention away from the photo and call on themselves as if they're really important, and I don't think they're that important. So consider that, see what you think. I do like the the bokeh, the blurry lights inside these things, but I could live without those so that I can see the photo and your main message really comes across. Same thing with these colors. I'd make them, smaller. Make sure that you're using the color wheel. So I think an analogous color scheme means that the colors are right exactly next to each other. And on the color wheel, uh, I believe that the colors go gold, yellow, lime, and then green. And so if you use gold and yellow next to each other, then you'd also need to use lime. Or if you use yellow, lime, and green, then you wouldn't use gold, unless you have 4 colors in your color scheme. This little swatch doesn't even look gold to me anyway. It could probably pass as green, as lime. Gold has more yellow and a little bit of red, tiny bit of orange in it. So there's that. Um, what else? I don't think I'd say much else there. I think that this layout generally is working, as long as you make these things a little less, smaller, and don't let them get quite so close to the edge. That's it for that one. And this one I think is Wendolyn's. I don't know if I can zoom in. I'm just using my hair. I guess I can if I do this. And I need to be able to see a little bit better. Okay. So it says, nature always wears the colors of the spirit. Ralph Waldo Emerson, Triadic, green, blue, and brown. So let's take a look at the color wheel. See if I can find a color wheel. Um, all right, so here's the color wheel. Now you're required to use the names that are on this color wheel. Okay, so there's no brown. There is a blue and a green, but there's no brown. And then if you say it's triadic, that means that the colors are, you choose 3 colors that are equally the same distance apart from each other. So let's take a look at that too. Okay, so here's blue and green. So a triadic color scheme actually has 3 colors separating the chosen color. So if you used blue, for example, you'd also need to use yellow and red. If you use green, then you'd also use purple and orange. Okay, that's kind of how a triadic color scheme works. So I'm not sure which color scheme you should choose for this particular photo. It's a beautiful photo, by the way. But I would think that, for example, the pinks and the greens, so the reds and the greens are there. So I would think you could use a complementary color scheme, because pink is actually red with white added to it. So you would just say complementary, red, and green, and that would be good. And your swatch doesn't have to be red. It can be, pink. In other words, red with white added into it. All right. So again, your photo is beautiful. I really like the way that the composition works. I kind of wish that the gazebo wasn't right in the center. Good composition, typically what we want is thirds, and your photo kind of is divided into thirds. There's this section over here, the middle section, and this section over here. So you do have rule of thirds working. It's just that the subject of your photo is right in the center. I would work on your text. The text is where I watch for principles of design. So right now you've got a little bit of contrast in size. So between the quote and the person who said the quote, and then the color scheme, you've got size contrast. But there's nothing in the quote that is popping, that is really speaking your message in a millisecond, and that's what I want. So I'd pick a word or a phrase and make that really stand out. I realize that you're going to have a difficult time making this text work on top of your photo, because your photo has some areas that are very light, some areas that are very dark, and some areas that have lights and darks in them. And I'm sure that's why you made this box. And the box works fairly well. The only problem with the box is that your text is really close to edges, and so your text feels crowded in there. So you might need to expand your box, unfortunately, so that you can give your text plenty of room to live. In fact, you might, for example, take a whole third of your photo and put your white transparent box there, and make sure that your text has plenty of room to exist. I like that you did a strong alignment between these two lines of text. This little hyphen throws off that alignment, so instead of coming straight down, my eye now has to come over and then come over again. And it would be stronger if your alignment was all straight. So one thing that you might try is make your box, your background white or whatever it is over here, and then align your text to the left so that it unites it with the rest of the image. And then don't do the hyphen there, and just align everything, including the color scheme. I love that you made your color scheme small and unobtrusive. Keep that going for you. But again, something needs to pop here. Okay. Really like this one. I like the quote. It's fun. It matches the photo. It's got good gestalt. In other words, all the elements are really working well together to convey the message. In the cookie of life, friends are the chocolate chips. You've done a nice job with your text. I like this strong line, and there's a little bit of creative alignment here. That works all right. I wonder, since cookie is the strong thing in this text, wonder what would happen if you used this left edge of the C for your strong alignment, your strong left alignment. So if you moved the friends are the chocolate chips, move this strong line over to here, to underneath that C. Also, I think friends is your big message, so make sure that really pops. I wish your text had a little more space. I wonder if you moved it down here, if it would have a little bit more. I wonder if you could make these small words a little bit smaller. I'm just trying to think of a way that you could really make this big and really contrast and not get too trapped in this space that you have. You need to spell complementary with an E, so it's Complementary. This kind of complementary means that you give complements, whereas as the color scheme means that two opposites make a whole. And it's a split complementary, so I don't want to look at the color wheel again, but brick, green, and blue, that could be split complementary, where the complement of brick, here I'll just look at it just a second. Okay, so I wouldn't do much else with this project. I think everything's got good space. There's great focus on the subject of your photo, and he's in a great place compositionally. His eyes even are in a great place, and they're green. So very well done. I love this project. It's one of my favorites so far. Okay, then this one is Haley's. Haley number 2, I believe. And I like that you've done some playing with the sizes in your text. You have a fairly strong line here, although you see how the name pops out to the left, or to the right, I mean. Just let everything line up in a straight line. Be sure you use the color names here instead of the color numbers. I'd say let your photo be bigger, and don't let these design elements overpower your photo. Your photo doesn't have to be the whole page, but as you incorporate some kind of little design elements, then keep them small and unobtrusive. And you've got a color scheme. It's an analogous color scheme, it says, which means the colors are all right next to each other. And I can't tell, it looks like you've got a green, a blue, maybe another blue. Anyway, and that's fine, but just make sure they're all right next to each other on the color scheme. There's a little bit of a proximity issue going on here. So when words are big, you don't really need to put space between the letters because that ruins their relationship. So just let these words have, be a little tighter, and then see how big this space is compared to this space. You want the relationship between blessed and are to be the same as the relationship between the and curious. But I do like that you made the least important words small. I would say that the person who said the quote needs to be even smaller than these small words. Also, instead of picking 3 words, consider just picking 1 word to pop out. And adventures, for example, might be the word that you focus on. But I think that's all I'll say. Oh, you've got a right alignment. I would consider left aligning or moving things around so that the quote and the picture are pulled together. So since the picture is on the left, then let's pull the quote to the left too. Or we could move the quote over here to the left, move the picture over here to the right, and then this alignment would pull them together. And you might consider aligning this stuff to something too. I guess you've aligned it to the edge of the picture, which that works all right. So anyway, lots of options with alignment. Nice job on this. Okay, and the last one is Sidney's. Sidney, this project is excellent. I really like how clear it is. And I like that your color scheme is, it's the least important visually on the page, but I can still find it. If I was going to do anything, I'd simplify it even more. These little pineapples, I bet that was a lot of work. I wonder if there's a way to simplify your pineapples, because at that size, maybe on the print it will be fine. Anyway, think about either making them smaller or just making them little circles. The circle would still repeat the shape of the pineapple. It's all round. Or there's an interesting shape here on the pineapple that you could consider. And I wonder about the amount of space that this stuff has. If it was a little smaller, it might feel a little less crowded in that area. Or you could move this orange, green, all that could be moved up so that, just like this color bleeds on this edge, you could take everything up off of this edge as well, and that would maybe give this a little bit more space. Or you could make this box smaller. Lots of options. Generally, I love your project. Very nice done, nice contrast. You've got some nice alignment. You've kind of curved it out a little bit to go with your pineapple, and I think that's working well. So, good job.